In this video, we're going to be covering another SQL question. This is Leetcode question number 1645, Hooper Company Queries Part 2. If you haven't seen the last video of this series, Hooper Company Queries Part 1, I definitely recommend doing that. We're gonna be, because there's only one change in this question and the previous question, so I would be going very fast and will be only be discussing that difference here. So we have been given the drivers. It has a driver ID and a join date when that driver joined the company. The structure didn't change from the previous question. We have rides here. We have rides here, which is that the rider with an ID is making, sorry, this is the rider ID is the primary key, and that is the ID of the particular ride. The user ID is the one who is making the request, and requested at is the date. Then the accepted rides is like this is a ride ID which is gonna be a subset of all the ride IDs in here. The driver ID is the one who accepted the ride, and the ride distance is how long he drove and for how much he drove, like in terms of distance and in terms of duration. What we need to do is to write a SQL query to report the percentage of working drivers, right? A working percentage for each month of 2020. So that being said, this time, uh, last time what we did is like we returned we were given the driver's table and the rides table and an accepted rides table. So what we were doing is like we were creating this column where we created the number of months. One is representing January, two is representing February, and so on and so forth. And the other things which we returned were uh, like we returned the total number of drivers and the accepted rides until that month. Sorry, in that month, and total number of drivers registered to the company. But this time, we want to return the working percentage, meaning how many drivers accepted the ride and how many of the total drivers were there so far until January 2020. And again, this ratio means 25 means only 1% accepted the ride, but there were total of four uh, drivers in the company. So yeah, so basically last time we calculated, as I said, how many drivers we have for month 1 and for month 2 and for month 3 and 4, and how many actually accepted the rides, like how many rides were got accepted during that particular month. So if we have those columns, all you need to do is to take the like the total number of accepted rides divided by total number of drivers so far in that month, and then multiplied by 100. But any of those, like let's say if total number of accepted rides is 0, or the total number of uh, drivers in the company so far is 0, any of that is 0, we're gonna say that this working percentage is 0. That would be it. uh, in terms of like the result should be in the ascending order, and also this round working percentage to the nearest two decimal places. So here is the query. We are returning the month from the first column, and then we calculated the other two columns, as I said, exactly like we did in the last question. But this time, once we have the second column and the third column, we are taking uh, the ratio and multiplying it with 100 and rounding it with 2 and returning that. Let's go a little bit deeper. The first column is just generating the months from 1 to 12. That is, you can do it in a naive way where you are selecting one as a month, then selecting two as a month, and then so on and so forth up to select, and then just keep doing the union as a temp and then order by the month, and that will give you 1 through 12. Okay, the second one is how many how many total drivers so far up till that month. We are again taking the year of that person's joining date, and if it is less than 2020, we did talk about it that if it is less than 2020, it means he actually joined before January 2020. So that is gonna fall into month one, meaning he is the part of the company in January 2020. Otherwise, if it is still, it needs to be less than equal to 2020. We don't care about anyone joining in 2021 or 2022. All we need to know is like the for the range who joined between in 2020. What we're gonna do is like we're gonna check their month, right? As long as the year is within less than or equal to 2020, we're gonna look at the month and we're gonna be uh, and again, just remember that this is if it is less than 2021, it's always gonna fall in January. But otherwise, we're gonna calculate the month and then we're gonna be putting it as a uh, like a like a count, drivers count, DCNT is a drivers count, that how many drivers do we have. And the last thing, exactly like we did in the last video, is that how many of them accepted the ride. So for that particular month, right, we want to know that the distinct driver's ID, we want to count that. Those were the active rides, and we can find that in the accepted ride table. And we want to make sure that the year we are talking about is 2020, and we are already uh, like looking at the month of that requested at ID, and that would be it. So again, once we have these three columns, I said we don't want to change the first column, so we're gonna be returning the t1 dot month. For the second one, what we need from the t2 is the driver's count. That is gonna be the denominator. The numerator is active rides, that's coming from this t3. Active rides divided by, again, if it is null, just take 0. If the bottom is null, again take 0. Like if again count the sum, and if any one of that is not, this is basically calculating the over the months. It is calculating the sum of the accepted rides. Sorry, some of the some of the total drivers, right? So once you have that, uh, again, if any of that becomes null, we're gonna be taking 0. Otherwise, you're gonna just round it to two decimal places. That's all I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching.